Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining us today's reading. Today we'll be reading the book Civilization and Transcendence. Before starting with the reading, we are going to offer prayers to the Vaishnava-Acharyas and take their blessings. Om Ajnana-Timirandhasya Jnananjana-Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Tapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamsya Namavom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pricharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today's, as I said, we are going to read the Civilization and Transcendence. In June of 1976, Bhavan's journal, a Bombay cultural and religious magazine, sent various religious and spiritual leaders a questionnaire seeking enlightened answers to some of the perplexing questions of the day, such as the place of religion in modern society. One recipient of their questionnaire was Srila Prabhupada, who took the opportunity to make a thorough presentation of the ideal civilization, Vedic civilization, show the faults of modern society from the viewpoint of transcendence, and offer practical solutions based on Krishna conscious teachings. His answers to Bhavan's journal were later compiled and published as like this book, Civilization and Transcendence, a compact and lively book of questions and answers. And Database.io is a free online multilingual research tool designed primarily to explore the teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And the rights for all the content presented here are reserved by the BBT, Bhaktivedanta Book Trust International. And as I mentioned here, and we thank both the BBT for publishing all Srila Prabhupada's book here, and also all the devotees here. As you can see, various devotees contributed for making this available on the database. So thank all of them so that we can read here. So today's book, Civilization and Transcendence, so His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, replies to a questionnaire from Bhavan's journal, June 28, 1976. Chapter 1, Religion with No Conception of God. Poster Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, this questionnaire was sent to you by Bhavan's journal, a cultural and religious magazine in Bombay. They are questioning various religious and spiritual leaders, trying to get the answers to some of the important questions that are perplexing people today. So there is a list of questions, and the first is this: is the influence of religion over the masses on the wane? Srila Prabhupada. Yes, this is predicted in Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto, 2nd chapter, text verse number 1. Tataschanu denam dharma satyam saucham kshamadaya kalena balina rajan nankshati ayur balam smritihi. In Kali Yuga, this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, there shall be a waning of these qualities: religiosity, truthfulness, cleanliness, tolerance, memory, bodily strength, duration of life, and mercy. These are the human assets, qualities which make a human being distinct from the animals. But these things will decline. There will be almost no mercy, there will be almost no truthfulness, memory will be shortened, duration of life shortened. Similarly, religion will practically vanish. So that means gradually human beings will descend to the platform of animals. Especially when there is no religion, human beings are simply animals. This any common man can distinguish. That a dog does not understand what religion is. The dog is also a living being, but he's not interested in what is being discussed here about Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the distinction between man and dog. The animal is not interested. So when human beings are becoming uninterested in religion, then they are becoming animals. And how can there be happiness or peace in animal society? The big leaders want to keep the citizenry as animals, and at the same time, they are striving to make a united nations. How is it possible? United animals? Is it possible? Society for united animals. Laughter. In the science of logic, it is said man is rational animal. So when rationality is missing, one becomes simply an animal. What is the possibility of being a human being? In human society, whether you are a Christian or Mohammedan or a Hindu or a Buddhist, it doesn't matter. But there must be some system of religion. That is human society. And human society without religion, animal society. This is the plain fact. Why are people unhappy now? Because they are neglecting religion. One gentleman has written me that Marx said, religion is the opium of the people. That means the communists are very adamant against God consciousness because they think that religion has spoiled the whole social atmosphere. Religion might have been misused, but that does not mean that religion should be avoided. Real religion should be taken. Simply because religion has not been properly executed by the so-called priests, that does not mean religion should be rejected. If my eye is giving me some kind of trouble on account of cataract, that does not mean my eye should be plucked out. The cataract should be removed. So that is the idea of the Krishna Consciousness movement, to remove the cataract from people's religious vision. Generally, modern so-called religious leaders have no conception of God, and yet they are preaching religion. What good is that religion? People are simply being misled. Real religion means God's order. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.19. If your religion has no conception of God, where is the question of religion? Still, without any conception of God, they are professing some religion. How long will it go on artificially? It will deteriorate. That ignorance about God has resulted in the present condition. Religion means the order of God, just as law means the order of the state. Now, if in your social system there is no state, where is the question of the state's order? You will simply manufacture your own order. Today, that is going on in the field of religion. There is no conception of God, and therefore no following of God's order. But we, devotees of Krishna, have a clear conception of God. Here is God, Krishna, and He is giving orders. We accept those orders. So it is clear religion. But if there is no conception of God, no order of God, then where is the question of religion? Ask someone in some other religious systems, some other religious system, what their conception of the form of God is. Can anyone tell clearly? Nobody can say. But we shall immediately say, Venum kvanam tamaravinda dalayatacham barhavatam samasitam buddha sundarangam kandarpa koti kamaniya visesha sobham govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, whose eyes are like petals of a blooming lotus, whose head is bedecked with a peacock's feather, whose figure of beauty is tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and whose unique loveliness charms millions of cupids. Brahma Samhita 5.30. Immediately, description. Here is God. Then there is religion. And if there is no conception of God, where is the question of religion? Bogus. That is why religiosity and the other noble human qualities are declining. People have no conception of God, and therefore there is no understanding of religion. As a result, the whole human civilization is declining. And because it is declining, human beings are becoming more and more like animals. Chapter 2. Progressing beyond progress. Mr. Krishna. Question number 2. Srila Prabhupada. Yes. Mr. Krishna. The traditional charge against Hinduism is that it is fatalistic, that it inhibits progress by making people slaves to the belief in the inevitability of what is to happen. How far is this charge true? Srila Prabhupada, the charge is false. Those who have made that charge do not know what Hinduism is. First of all, the Vedic scriptures make no mention of such a thing as Hinduism. But they do mention Sanatana Dharma, the eternal and universal religion, and also Varnashrama Dharma, the natural organization of human society, that we can find in the Vedic scriptures. So it is a false charge that the Vedic system inhibits the progress of mankind. What is that progress? A dog's jumping is progress? Laughter. A dog is running here and there on 4 legs, and you are running on 4 wheels. Is that progress? The basic system is this. The human being has a certain amount of energy, better energy than the animals, better consciousness. And that energy should be utilized for spiritual advancement. So the whole Vedic system is meant for spiritual advancement. Human energy is employed in a more exalted direction than to compete with the dog. Consequently, sometimes those who have no idea of religion notice that the Indian saintly persons are not working hard like dogs. Spiritually uncultured people think the dog race is life, but actual life is spiritual progress. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.118 says, Tashaiva heto praiteta kovido nalabhyate yad brahmatam uparyadhaha tallabhyate dukkhavad anyata sukham kalena sarvatra gabhiraha brahmasa. The human being should exert his energy for that thing which he did not get in many, many lives. Through many, many lives, the soul has been in the forms of dogs or demigods or cats or birds or insects. For 8,400,000 material forms. So this transmigration is going on. But in every one of these millions of forms, the business is sense gratification. The dog is busy for sense gratification. Where is food? Where is shelter? Where is mate? Where is a mate? How to defend? And the man is also doing the same business in different ways. So this struggle for existence is going on, life after life. Even a small insect is engaging in the same struggle. Ahara nidra bhayamaidhanam. Eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. Bird, beast, insect, fish, everywhere, the same struggle. Where is food? Where is sex? Where is shelter? How to defend? So the Shastra, scripture says, we have done these things in many, many past lives. And if we don't get out of the struggle for existence, we will have to do them again in many, many future lives. So these things should be stopped. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj advises his friend, Srimad Bhagavatam 7.6.3, Sukham Aindriyakam Daitya, Deha Yogena Dehinam, Sarvatra Labhite Daivat, Yatha Dukkham Ayatnataha. My dear friends, material pleasure, which is due simply to this material body, is essentially the same in any body. And just as misery comes without our trying for it, so the happiness we deserve will also come by higher arrangement. A dog has a material body and I have a material body. So my sex pleasure and the dog's sex pleasure is the same. Of course, a dog is not afraid of having sex on the street in front of everyone. We hide it in a nice apartment, that's all. But the activity is the same. There is no difference. Still, people are taking this sex pleasure between a man and woman in a nice decorated apartment as very advanced. But this is not advanced. And yet they are making a dog's race for this advancement. Prahlad Maharaj says we are imagining that there are different types of pleasure on account of different types of body. But the pleasure is fundamentally the same. Naturally, according to the different types of body, there are some external differences in the pleasure, but the basic amount and quality of this pleasure has very well defined limitations. That is called destiny. A pig has a certain type of body and his eatable is too. That is destined. You cannot change it. Let the pig eat halwa. That's not possible. Because the soul has a particular type of body, he must eat a particular type of food. Can anyone, any scientist, improve the standard of a living of a pig? Is it possible? Laughter. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj says that everything about material pleasure is already fixed. The uncivilized men in the jungle are having the same sex pleasure as the so-called civilized men who boast. Instead of living in that hut made of leaves, we are living in a skyscraper building. This is advancement. But the Vedic civilization says, no, this is not advancement. Real advancement is self-realization. How much you have realized your relationship with God. Sometimes people misunderstand, thinking that sages who try for self-realization are lazy. In a high court, a judge is sitting soberly, apparently doing nothing, and he is getting the highest salary. And another man in the same court, he is working hard all day long, rubber stamping, and he is getting not even 1/10 of the judge's salary. He is thinking, I am so busy and working so hard, yet I am not getting a good salary. And this man is just sitting on the bench and he is getting such a fat salary. The criticism of Hinduism as inhibiting progress is like that. It comes out of ignorance. The Vedic civilization is for self-realization. It is meant for the intelligent person, the person who will not just work like an ass, but who will try for the thing which he did not achieve in so many other lives, namely self-realization. For example, we are sometimes labeled escapists. What is the charge? Disciple. They say we are escaping from reality. Srila Prabhupada, yes, we are escaping their reality, but their reality is a dog's race. And our reality is to advance in self-realization, Krishna Consciousness. That is the difference. Therefore, the mundane materialistic workers have been described as mudhas, asses. Why? Because the ass works very hard for no tangible gain. He carries on his back tons of cloth for the washerman, and the washerman in return gives him a little morsel of grass. Then the ass stands at the washerman's door eating the grass, while the washerman loads him up again. The ass has no sense to think. If I get out of the clutches of this washerman, I can get grass anywhere. Why am I carrying so much? The mundane workers are like that. They are busy at the office, very busy. If you want to see the fellow, I am very busy now. Laughter. So what is the result of your being so busy? Well, I take 2 pieces of toast and 1 cup of tea. That's all. Laughter. And for this purpose, you are so busy? Or he is busy all day simply so that in the evening he can look at his account books and say, oh, the balance had been $1,000, now it has become 2,000. That is his satisfaction. But still, he will have the same 2 pieces of bread and 1 cup of tea, even though he has increased his balance from 1,000 to 2,000. And still, he will work hard. This is why karmis are called mudhas. They work like asses without any real aim of life. But Vedic civilization is different. The accusation implied in the question is not correct. In the Vedic system, people are not lazy. They are very, very busy working for a higher purpose. And that busyness is so important that Prahlad Maharaj says, Kaumara Acharayat Prajno. Beginning from childhood, one should work for self-realization. One should not lose a second's time. So that is Vedic civilization. Of course, the materialistic workers, they see these men are not working like us, like dogs and asses, so they are escaping. Yes, escaping your fruitless endeavor. The Vedic civilization of self-realization begins from the Varnashrama system of social organization. Varnashrama charavata purushena parakuman Vishnur arajyate. Everyone should offer up the fruits of his occupational duty to the lotus feet of the Lord Vishnu or Krishna. That is why the Vedic system is called Varnashrama, literally social organization with a spiritual perspective. The Varnashrama system has 4 social and 4 spiritual divisions. The social divisions are the Brahmanas, teachers and priests, Kshatriyas, administrators and military men, Vaishyas, farmers and merchants, and Sudras, laborers and craftsmen. While the spiritual divisions are the Brahmacharis, students, Grihasthas, householders, Vanaprasthas, retirees, and Sannyasis, renunciates. But the ultimate goal is Vishnu Aradhyate, the worship of the Supreme Lord Vishnu by all. That is the idea. But the members of the modern so-called civilization do not know of Varnashrama. Therefore, they have created a society that is simply a dog's race. The dog is running on 4 legs and they are running on 4 wheels. That's all. And they think the 4-wheel race is advancement of civilization. Vedic civilization is different. As Narada Muni says, Tasaiva heto praiteta kovido nalabhyate yad brahmatam uparyatha. The learned, astute person will use this life to gain what he has missed in countless prior lives, namely realization of self and realization of God. Someone may ask, then shall we do nothing? Yes, do nothing simply to improve your material position. Whatever material happiness is allotted for you by destiny, you will get it wherever you are. Take to Krishna Consciousness. You will get these other things besides. How shall I get them? How? Kalena sarvatra gabhira ramhasa. By the arrangement of eternal time, everything will come about in due course. The example is given that even though you do not want distress, still distress comes upon you. Similarly, even if you do not work hard for happiness that is destined to be yours, still it will come. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj says, Natat prayasha kartavyam. You should not waste your energy for material happiness because you cannot get more than what you are destined to have. That is not possible. How can I believe it? That by working harder, I will not get more material happiness than I would otherwise have had? Because you are undergoing so many distressing conditions, even though you do not want them. Who wants distress? For example, in our country, Mahatma Gandhi was killed by his own countrymen. He was a great man. He was protected by so many followers. He was beloved by all. And still, he was killed. Destiny. Who can protect you from all these distressing conditions? So, you should conclude, if these distressing conditions come upon me by force, the other kind of condition, the opposite number, will also come. Therefore, why shall I waste my time trying to avoid distress and gain so-called happiness? Let me utilize my energy for Krishna consciousness. That is intelligence. You cannot check your destiny. The magazine's question touches on this point. Krishna. Yes, the usual charge is that this Vedic system of civilization is fatalistic. And that as a result, people are not making as much material progress as they otherwise would. Srila Prabhupada, no, the Vedic system is not fatalistic. It is fatalistic only in the sense that one's material destiny cannot be changed. But your spiritual life is in your hands. Our point is this. The whole Vedic civilization is based on the understanding that destiny allows only a certain amount of material happiness in this world, and that our efforts should therefore be directed towards self-realization. Nobody is enjoying uninterrupted material happiness. That is not possible. A certain amount of material happiness and a certain amount of material distress, these both must be present always. So, just as you cannot check your distressing condition of life, similarly, you cannot check your happy condition of life. It will come automatically. Therefore, don't waste your time with these things. Better you utilize your energy for advancing in Krishna consciousness. Mr. Krishna. So then, Srila Prabhupada, would it be accurate, after all, to say that people who have this Vedic conception would not try for progress? Srila Prabhupada, no. Progress, first, you must understand what actual progress is. The thing is that if you try to progress vainly, what is the use of trying? If it is the fact you cannot change your material destiny, why should you try for that? Rather, whatever energy you have, utilize it for understanding Krishna consciousness. That is real progress. Make your spiritual understanding, your understanding of God and self, perfectly clear. For instance, in our International Society for Krishna Consciousness, our main business is how to make advancement in Krishna consciousness. We are not enthusiastic about opening big factories with big money, earning machines. No, we are satisfied with whatever material happiness and distress we are destined. But we are very eager to utilize our energy for progressing in Krishna consciousness. This is the point. So the Vedic system of civilization is meant for realizing God, Vishnu Aradhyate. In the Vedic system, people try for that. Actually, the followers of Varnashrama Dharma, they never tried for economic development. You will find in India still millions of people taking bath in the Ganges during Kumbh Mela. Have you been to the Kumbh Mela festival? Disciple, no. Srila Prabhupada, at the Kumbh Mela, millions of people come to take bath in the Ganges because they are interested in how to become spiritually liberated from this material world. They are not lazy. They travel thousands of miles to take bath in the Ganges at the holy place of Prayag. So although they are not busy in the dog's race, these people are not lazy. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasham jagrati samyami. What is the night for ordinary beings is the time of wakefulness for the self-control. The self-controlled man wakes up very early, practically in the middle of the night, and works for spiritual realization while others are sleeping. Similarly, during the daytime, the dogs and asses think we are working, but these spiritualists, they are not working. So there are two different platforms, the material and the spiritual. Followers of the Vedic civilization, which is practiced in India, although nowadays it is distorted, actually, these people are not lazy. They are very busy. Not only very busy, but also Kaumara-Ācārya prajno dharman bhagavatam iha. They are trying to become self-realized from the very beginning of life. They are so busy that they want to begin the busyness from their very childhood. Therefore, it is wrong to think they are lazy. People who accuse followers of Vedic civilization of laziness or of inhibiting progress do not know what real progress is. The Vedic civilization is not interested in the false progress of economic development. For instance, sometimes people boast, we have gone from the hut to the skyscraper. They think this is progress. But in the Vedic system of civilization, one thinks about how much he is advanced in self-realization. He may live in a hut and become very advanced in self-realization. But if he wastes his time turning his hut into a skyscraper, then his whole life is wasted, finished. And in his next life, he's going to be a dog, although he does not know it. That's all. Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, then this question may be raised. If destiny cannot be checked, then why not, when a child is born, simply let him run around like an animal? And whatever happens to him, Srila Prabhupada, no. That is the advantage of this human form of life. You can train the child spiritually. That is possible. Therefore, it is said, Taseva heto praiteta kovido. Use this priceless human form to attain what you could not attain in so many millions of lower forms. For that spiritual purpose, you should engage your energy. That advantage is open to you now in the human form. Ahituki apratihata. Pure devotional service to the Lord, Krishna consciousness is open to you now, and it cannot be checked. Just as your advancement of so-called material happiness is already destined and cannot be checked, similarly, your advancement in spiritual life cannot be checked if you endeavor for it. No one can check your spiritual advancement. Try to understand this. Krishna. So, then we can't say that the Vedic system or Sanatana Dharma is fatalistic. There actually is endeavor for progress. Srila Prabhupada, certainly, spiritual progress. As for the question of fatalistic, I have often given this example. Let us say a man is condemned by a court of law to be hanged. Nobody can check it. Even the same judge who gave the verdict cannot check it. But if the man begs for the mercy of the king can check the execution. He can go totally above the law. Therefore, the Brahma Samhita 5.54 says, Karmani nirdahati kintuja bhakti bhajam. Destiny can be changed by Krishna for his devotees. Otherwise, it is not possible. Therefore, our only business should be to surrender to Krishna. And if you artificially want to be more happy by economic development, that is not possible. Krishna. Question number 3. Srila Prabhupada. No. First of all, make sure that everything is clear. Why are you so eager to progress? Laughter. Try to understand what is what. The first thing is that your destiny cannot be changed. That's a fact. But in spite of your destiny, if you try for Krishna consciousness, you can achieve spiritual success. Otherwise, why did Prahlad Maharaj urge his friends, Founder-Ācārya, take Krishna consciousness up from your very childhood? If destiny cannot be changed, then why was Prahlad Maharaj urging this? Generally, destiny means your material future. That you cannot change. But even that can be changed when you are in spiritual life. Krishna. What is the meaning of apratihata? You said that spiritual advancement, spiritual development cannot be checked. Srila Prabhupada, apratihata means this. Suppose you are destined to suffer. So apratihata means that in spite of your so-called destiny to suffer, if you take to Krishna consciousness, your suffering will be reduced, or there will be no suffering. And in spite of any suffering, you can make progress in spiritual life. Just like Prahlad Maharaj himself. His father put him into so many suffering conditions, but he was not impeded. He made spiritual progress. He didn't care about his father's attempt to make him suffer. That state of existence is called apratihata. If you want to execute Krishna consciousness, your material condition of life cannot check it. That is the real platform of progress. Of course, insofar as your material condition is concerned, generally that cannot be checked. You have to suffer. But in the case of a devotee, that suffering also can be stopped or minimized. Otherwise, Krishna's statement would be false. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami. I will deliver you from all the reactions to your sinful activities. Suffering must befall me on account of my sinful activities. But Krishna says, I will deliver you from all the reactions to your sinful activities. This should be clear. Ordinarily, destiny cannot be checked. Therefore, instead of wasting your time trying to change your economic condition or material destiny apart from Krishna consciousness, you should employ your priceless human energy for attaining Krishna consciousness, which cannot be checked. We see so many men working so hard. Does this mean that every one of them will become a Ford, a Rockefeller? Why not? Everyone is trying his best, but Mr. Ford was destined to become a rich man. His destiny was there, and so he became a rich man. Another man may work just as hard as Ford, but this does not mean he will become as rich as Ford. This is practical. You cannot change your destiny simply by working hard like asses and dogs. No, but you can utilize your special human energy for improving your Krishna consciousness. That is a fact. Disciple, Srila Prabhupada, If destiny cannot be changed, what does Krishna mean when he says, "Be thou happy by this sacrifice"? Srila Prabhupada, do you know what is meant by sacrifice? Disciple, sacrifice to Vishnu, Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, yes. That means pleasing Krishna. If Krishna is pleased, he can change destiny. Karmani nirdahati kintuja bhakti bhajam. For those who serve him with love and devotion, Krishna can change destiny. So sacrifice, yajna means pleasing Krishna. Our whole Krishna consciousness movement means pleasing Krishna. That is the whole program. In all other business, there is no question of pleasing Krishna. When one nation declares war upon another, there is no question of pleasing Krishna or serving Krishna. They are pleasing their own senses, serving their own whims. When the First and Second World Wars began, it was not for pleasing Krishna. The Germans wanted that their sense gratification not be hampered by the Britishers. That means it was a war of sense gratification. The Britishers are achieving their sense gratification. We cannot. All right, fight. So there was no question of pleasing Krishna. Next question. Chapter 3. Concocted religion. Pusta Krishna. Question number 3. It is said that the greatest strength of Hinduism is its Catholicity or breadth of outlook, but that this is also its greatest weakness, in that there are very few common prescribed religious observances which are obligatory for all, as in other religions. Is it necessary and possible to outline certain basic minimum observances for all Hindus? Srila Prabhupada. So far as the Vedic religion is concerned, it is not simply for the so-called Hindus. That is to be understood. This is Sanatana Dharma, the eternal and universal nature and duty of every living being. It is for all living entities, all living beings. That is why it is called Sanatana Dharma. That I have already explained. The living entity is Sanatana, or eternal. God is Sanatana and there is Sanatana Dharma, the Lord's eternal abode. Sorry. God is Sanatana and there is Sanatana Dhamma, the Lord's eternal abode. As Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita 8.20, Parastasmatu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha. Yet, there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal. And in the 11th chapter, Krishna himself is described as Sanatana. Do you remember? He is described as Sanatana, the supreme eternal. So actually, the Vedic system is called Sanatana Dharma, not Hindu Dharma. This is a wrong conception. This Sanatana Dharma is meant for all living entities, not just the so-called Hindus. The very term Hindu is a misconception. The Muslims refer to the Indian people who lived on the other side of the river Sindh as Sindhus. Actually, due to the peculiarities of pronunciation, as Hindus. In any case, the Muslims called India Hindustan, which means the land on the other side of the river Sindh or Hind. Otherwise, Hindustan has no Vedic reference. So this Hindu Dharma has no Vedic reference. The real Vedic Dharma is Sanatana Dharma or Varnashrama Dharma. First of all, one has to understand this. Now that Sanatana Dharma or Vedic Dharma is being disobeyed, distorted, and misrepresented. It has come to be misunderstood as Hinduism. That is a fake understanding. That is not the real understanding. We have to study Sanatana Dharma or Varnashrama Dharma. Then we will understand what the Vedic religion is. Every living entity is eternal, Sanatana. God is also eternal. And we can live with God in his Sanatana Dhamma, his eternal abode. This reciprocation is called Sanatana Dharma, the eternal nature and duty of the living being. So Vedic religion means this Sanatana Dharma, not Hindu Dharma. Read the verse from Bhagavad Gita that describes Krishna as Sanatana, Radha Vallabha. Tamaksharam paramam veditavyam, tamasya vishvasya param nidhanam, Tvamavyaya Shashvata Dharma Gopta Sanatanastam Purusho Matome. You are the supreme primal objective. You are the ultimate resting place of this universe. You are inexhaustible and you are the supreme eternal. You are the maintainer of the eternal religion, the personality of Godhead. This is my opinion. Bhagavad Gita 11.18. Srila Prabhupada, this understanding is wanted. Krishna is eternal, we are eternal, and the place where we will live with him and exchange our feelings, that is eternal. And the system which teaches this eternal system of reciprocation, that is called Sanatana Dharma, the eternal religion. It is meant for everyone. Mr. Krishna, how can people follow Sanatana Dharma on a practical daily basis? Srila Prabhupada, how are we doing it? Is it not practical? Krishna requests, Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyajimam namaskuru. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your obeisances to me. Where is the impracticality? Where is the difficulty? And Krishna promises, Mame Vaishyasi Asamshaya. If you do this, you will come to me. Without any doubt, you will come to me. Why don't you do that? Later, Krishna's request, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Saranam Vraja. Give up all varieties of concocted religion and simply surrender to me. This is practical religion. Just surrender to Krishna and think, I am a devotee of Krishna, a servant of Krishna. Take this simple approach. Then everything will be immediately done. Real dharma, real religion means dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. What God says, that is dharma. Now God says, give up all this concocted dharma and just surrender unto me. So take that dharma. Why don't you take Krishna's instruction? Why do you go outside his instruction? That is the cause of all your troubles. You do not know the difference between this Sanatana Dharma, the real eternal religion, and your concocted dharma. If you take to some false religious system, then you suffer. But if you take to the real religious system, then you will be happy. Of course, nowadays India, like the rest of the world, has also given up the real religious system, Sanatana Dharma, or Varnashram Dharma. In India, they have accepted a hodgepodge thing called Hinduism. So there is trouble everywhere. But in India especially, people should know that the real religion is this Vedic system. Vedic religion means Varnashram Dharma. Krishna says, God says, Chaturvanyam Maya Srushtam. For spiritual and material progress, the 4 occupational divisions of society have been set up by me. So that is obligatory, just as the state law is obligatory. You cannot say, I don't accept this law. No, you have to accept it. If you want to have a happy life, you cannot become an outlaw. Then you will not be happy. You will be punished. Now God says, Maya Srushtam. This Varnashram system is given by me. So how can we refuse to follow it? That means we are denying the real religion. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Real dharma, real religion means the order given by God. And God says, Chaturvanyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. For the proper management of human society, I have created these 4 social divisions based on people's qualities and actions. So you have to accept it. Mr. Krishna, this would be the prescription for all people, Srila Prabhupada, for everyone. At the head of the social body, there must be the intelligent class of men who will give advice. Then there must be the administrative and productive class, the farming and mercantile class, and the laboring class. This is all given in the Bhagavad Gita. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. But when you fully surrender to Krishna, you can give up all the regulations pertaining to these 4 social classes. That is why Krishna says, Sarvadharman Parityajya. In the ultimate issue, my instruction is to give up all religious formularies, including even Vedic formularies, and simply surrender to me. Brahmana dharma, Kshatriya dharma, Hindu dharma, this dharma, that dharma, give up. Give all these up and simply surrender to Krishna. because the ultimate aim of dharma is to come to Krishna. You directly come to me, then everything is all right. Disciple. So many people concoct their own system and say this is the way to go to God. Srila Prabhupada. Then let them suffer. What can be done? If you don't accept the laws of the state and you manufacture your own laws, then you will suffer. The state says keep to the right. But if you make your own law, no, I will keep to the left. Then you will suffer. It's a fact. Krishna is personally advising, Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Give up all your concocted religions and surrender to me alone. Take his advice and be happy. Chapter 4. Caste system cast out. Mr. Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, will the fundamental values of the Vedic religion be in any way affected by the eradication of the caste system, toward which a concerted effort is now being made at all levels? Srila Prabhupada. The Vedic system of religion we have been describing, the Varnashrama system created by Krishna, is not to be confused with the present day caste system, determination of social divisions by birth. But as to the eradication of all social divisions, it cannot be done. This is still more foolishness. Because Krishna himself says, Chaturvarnyam maya sushtam guna karma vibhagashaha. This system of 4 social divisions, according to quality and work, is ordained by me. But the difficulty is that this so-called caste system has come in on account of the false notion that in order to be a Brahmana, one must be the son of a Brahmana. That is the caste system. But Krishna does not say that. He says according to quality and work. He never says according to birth. So this so-called caste system in India is a false notion of Chaturvarnyam, the system of 4 social divisions. The real system of Chaturvarnyam means Guna Karma Vibhagashaha, determination of the 4 social divisions according to quality and work. One must be qualified. And how does one become qualified? That is also described. For instance, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes the qualities of a Brahmana as follows. Samodamastapasaucham chantirajyavamevacha gnanam vijnanamastikhyam. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. So people who want to become Brahmanas must be educated to acquire these qualities. It is not enough simply to abolish the caste system, which is contaminated by the false conception of qualification by birthright. Certainly, this wrong caste system should be abolished. Also, educational centers should be opened for teaching people how to become genuine Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. According to their qualities and work. People naturally belong to different social groupings. So you cannot avoid it. But because you have created a false caste system, that should be abolished. And the system recommended by Krishna, that should be adopted. In any event, you cannot avoid the natural occurrence of various social divisions. Nature's caste system will remain. Take, for example, the Brahminical quality of truthfulness. All over the world, wherever you go, you will find at least one person who is truthful. Does anyone say, oh, his father was truthful, therefore he is truthful? This is nonsense. Krishna never says anything like this. The father may be Hiranyakashipu, a big demon, but his son can still be Prahlad, a great devotee of the Lord. It is not that one will inevitably become exactly like one's father. Of course, it may be. There is every possibility. But still, it is not a fact that the son unavoidably becomes like the father. Our point is, wherever you go, you will find a first-class man who is truthful. Now, wherever you find a truthful man, you can classify him as a Brahmana and train him to serve the social body in that capacity as a spiritual teacher and advisor. That is wanted. Why assume? Here is the son of a truthful man, therefore he is truthful. A Brahmana? That is the misconception. You have to find the truthful men all over the world and train them as Brahmanas. That we are doing. If you follow these principles, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating, you are a Brahmana. Come on and receive further training. The fellow's father may be a meat eater or a gambler or a drunkard, but if he himself is truthful and agreeable to the Brahmanical life, then tell him, all right, come on, you are welcome. Then everything will be all right. You could not abolish the truthful class of men even if you wanted to. You will find truthful men everywhere. You simply have to train them. So Krishna says, Chaturvarnyam maya sustam gunakarma vibhagashaha, according to their qualities and work. You take some men and put them in Brahminical class, others in the Kshatriya class, still others in the Vaishya class, and the rest in the Sudra class. But you cannot abolish that system. That is a false attempt. Pusta Krishna, you are saying the natural system is to classify a person and train him for a particular duty, according to his particular inner qualities and his particular propensity to act? Srila Prabhupada, yes. That classification is wanted. That must be there. Mr. Krishna. And that will be the benefit of classifying and training people according to their own qualities and propensities. Srila Prabhupada, the benefit will be that the whole social body will function harmoniously. The social body must have a brain and arms and a belly and legs to be complete. If there is no brain, no head, then what is the use of these arms and legs and belly? It is all dead. So in human society, if there is not a class of a learned, truthful, and honest men with all the Brahmanical qualifications, then society is ruined. That is why people are perplexed. Today, almost everyone is trained to be a Sudra, a laborer. Go to the factory. That's all. Go to the factory and get money. And when the man gets some money, he immediately purchases wine and women. So if you try to make society classless, you will produce such men, useless men, disturbing the social body. You cannot make society classless. If you try to make it classless, naturally people will all be Sudras, fourth class men, and worse. Then there will be social chaos. Mr. Krishna. But can all people take an equal interest in religion despite their belonging to different social classifications? Srila Prabhupada, yes. This I have already explained. That any civilized human being, he has got some religion. Now, the basic principles of religion are the statements made by God. So here in the Vedic system is what God says. If you take to this system, then the social body will be perfect, not only for Hindus, but also for Christians, for Mohammedans, for everyone. And that is being practically realized in our Krishna Consciousness movement. We have got devotees from all groups of human society, and they are taken to this Vedic system. It is practical. There is no difficulty. So Hindus, Muslims, Christians, everyone should take to this Krishna religion and become Krishnaites, Krishnians. Laughter. The Greek word Christo comes from the Sanskrit Krishna. In fact, another spelling of Krishna is Krishta. So actually, if you take the root meaning, Christian means Christian or Christian. So that is a controversial point, but everyone can take to Krishna. Then everything will be settled up. Chapter 5. Eternal truths versus everyday realities. Mr. Krishna. Would you like to hear another question, Srila Prabhupada? Srila Prabhupada, yes. Mr. Krishna. It is said that whereas the Shrutis, the four original Vedas, the Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutra, embody eternal truths, the Smritis, the Puranas, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, and corollary Vedic literature, embody the rules of conduct and thus need to be revised according to the dictates of the changing times. Will such a view be acceptable to all sections of society? And if so, how can the new Smritis come into being? And who will give them sanction and sanctity? Srila Prabhupada. The Smritis are given by the Lord and his representatives. They come from spiritual authorities such as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Shastra or scripture also gives this authority. For instance, for this age, Kali Yuga, the Lord has prescribed a special means of God realization, the chanting of his holy name. Smritis such as the Brahmanaradiya Purana say the same thing, that in this age of Kali Yuga, the only possible means of God realization is chanting the Lord's name. In the Bhagavad Purana 12.351, also, Sukadeva Goswami directs, Kalera dosha nithe rajan, asti eko mahan gunaha, kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet. Although in this age there are so many faults, it is truly an ocean of faults. Still, there is one very great advantage. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one becomes fully purified and is liberated from all material miseries. So this Smriti injunction we should take up. And actually we see all over the world how it is purifying all sections of people. Take to this chanting of Hare Krishna. Then Sruti, Smriti, everything will be fulfilled. This is the easiest method. Kirtana Deva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Vrajet. Chant the Lord's holy name and you will be liberated. Pushta Krishna. So the Srutis are eternally relevant and constant? Srila Prabhupada. Yes. Everything is based on the Srutis. As the Vedanta Sutra says, Anavritti Sabdat. Simply by chanting the Lord's names and instructions, his sound vibration, one becomes spiritually realized. Sabda Brahman means spiritual sound vibration. And as the Vedanta Sutra instructs us, by chanting the spiritual sound vibration, the instructions and holy name of the Lord, one can become liberated. Krishna Krishna. Also, the Smritis are directly based on the original Srutis. Srila Prabhupada, yes. For instance, Bhagavad Gita is considered Smriti. And Bhagavad Gita also says, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dhradavrataha. Fully endeavoring with determination, with the great souls, are always chanting my glories. And as the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is also considered Smriti, explains, Sruti Smriti Puranadi. The great devotees heed both the Srutis and the Smritis. Another Smriti, Brahmanaradiya Purana, enjoins Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama Iva Kevalam. In this age of quarrel, the only way to realize the Lord is to chant his holy name, chant his holy name, chant his holy name. So because he was in the role of a great devotee, Lord Chaitanya followed his instructions of Sruti and Smriti. Krishna Varnam Tushak Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam. Krishnam Varnayati. Lord Chaitanya was also chanting Hare Krishna. These examples are evidence that the Smritis are directly based on the Srutis. So introduce this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, everyone will be purified. Krishna Krishna. Is Smriti more than just rules of conduct? Srila Prabhupada, yes. Here is what Smriti means. The four original Vedas are considered Sruti. But simply by hearing them, one cannot understand fully. Therefore, the Smritis have explained further. Purayati iti Purana. By hearing the Puranas and other Smritis, one makes his understanding complete. The Vedic mantras are not always understood. For instance, the Vedanta, which is Shruti, begins with the mantra Janmajyasya. The Supreme is that being from whom everything has emanated. This is very abbreviated, but the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Smriti, explains Janmajyasya yatonmayad itaratascha abhignasvarat. The Supreme Being from whom everything has emanated is directly and indirectly cognizant of everything and is fully independent. In this way, the Smriti explains the Sruti. So whether you take Sruti or Smriti, the subject matter is the same. Both Sruti and Smriti are spiritual evidence. We cannot do without either of them. As Srila Rupa Goswami says in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 12101, Sruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidhim Vina Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpate Kalpate. You cannot become purified or actually God conscious without reference to both Shruti and Smriti. So as we push on this Krishna consciousness movement, it is not whimsical. It is based on Shruti, Smriti, and Pancharatrik Vidhi, the principles of Shruti, Smriti, and the Narada Pancharatra. Therefore, it is becoming effective. Pusta Krishna. Nevertheless, Srila Prabhupada, the question asks, do the Smritis need to be revised according to the changing times? Srila Prabhupada, they cannot be changed. Pusta Krishna, the Smritis cannot be changed. Srila Prabhupada, nothing can be changed. But according to the time, you have to apply the principles properly. For instance, in the Kali Yuga, the Smriti order is Kirtanadeva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Rajet. To obtain spiritual liberation, one must chant the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna. So you have to do this. For instance, a doctor may order in the morning, take this medicine. In the evening, take that medicine. It is not a change of the doctor's orders. It is simply that according to the time, the doctor's orders call for a particular medicine. But the particular medicine is recommended by the doctor, not by your whims. Shruti and Smriti cannot be changed, but they may recommend a particular process at a particular time. So there must be adherence to both Shruti and Smriti, to scriptural authority. You cannot modify. Pusta Krishna, there is no question then of, as the magazine puts it, new Smriti. Srila Prabhupada, no. New Smriti, they make it as new Smriti, but Smriti is Smriti. It is not new. In any spiritual statement, you have to give references to Smriti and Smriti. Otherwise, it is not valid. There must be Veda Pramana, Shabda Pramana, evidence from the Vedas and from the explanatory Vedic literature. Otherwise, there is no evidence. Your statement is not valid. You cannot change the original Shruti Smriti, but you have to take their particular recommendation for the particular time, just as Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did when he urged his followers to heed the injunction of the Brihanaradi Purana 3.8.126. Harer Nama, Harer Nama Iva Kevalam, Kalau Nastaiva, Nastaiva, Nastaiva Gatiranyadha. Chant the holy name, chant the holy name, chant the holy name of Krishna. In the present age of quarrel and anxiety, there is no other way to God realization. No other way, no other way. So Smriti Smriti Pramana, citing evidence from the Vedas and the corollary literature, is the only method for making a spiritual statement. You have to take it. Pusta Krishna. Can anyone change? Srila Prabhupada, no. Pusta Krishna. The rules of conduct as described in the Smritis, Srila Prabhupada, nobody can change them. But these particular rules and regulations in Smriti are for particular times, particular circumstances. So we have to take these rules and regulations. You cannot change them. Mr. Krishna. And who will sanction a particular application for a particular time and place? Srila Prabhupada, yes. This was done by Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya. When he appeared 500 years ago, he sanctioned the application of Shruti Smriti because he is a genuine authority. He is a genuine Ācārya. And we are following in the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is not whimsical. You have to follow the authority in all circumstances. Pusta Krishna. Is this Vedic religion, this Sanatana Dharma, so broad that everyone is included? Srila Prabhupada. Yes. Sanatana means eternal. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Nahanyate hanyamane sharire. The living entity within the body is not destroyed when the body is destroyed, because he is eternal. So that eternality belongs to everyone. Not that the Hindus, after giving up this body, exist, and the Muslims or Christians do not exist. Everyone exists eternally. So Sanatana Dharma is meant for everyone. Pusta Krishna. Then, is there anyone actually outside of Sanatana Dharma? Srila Prabhupada. Nobody is actually outside. Everyone is an eternal spirit soul. And therefore, everyone is meant for the eternal religion, Sanatana Dharma. You may think that you are not an eternal spirit soul, but that is simply illusion. There are so many rascals who think that with the death of the body, everything is finished. They may think so, but that is not a fact. Similarly, you may think, I am not a Sanatana Dharmi, a follower of Sanatana Dharma. I am a Christian. But actually, you are a Sanatana Dharmi. Of course, if you wish to think otherwise, you can. Who can check it? Hari, sorry. So, whether one can be accepted as following Sanatana Dharma depends on how one acts. Srila Prabhupada, yes. Yes, if one does not act according to the rules and regulations of Sanatana Dharma, that is his business. That's all. Chapter 6, The Ultimate Knowledge. Pusta Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, this is the next question. In the Kali Yuga, the current age of quarrel and hypocrisy, Bhakti, devotional service to the Lord, has been described as the most suitable and easiest of paths for God realization. Yet, how is it that Vedantic teachings, with their accent on jnana, cultivation of knowledge, are being given the pride of place by noted savants? Srila Prabhupada, the so-called Vedantis, the Mayavadis, impersonalists, are bluffers. They do not know what Vedanta is, but people want to be bluffed, and the bluffers take advantage of it. The two words combined in the word Vedanta are Veda and Anta. Veda means knowledge and Anta means goal or end. So Vedanta means the end of all knowledge or Veda. Now in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Vedaisya sarvair ahameva vedya. By all the Vedas I am to be known. So the whole Vedanta Sutra is a description of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the first statement in the Vedanta Sutra is Adhato Brahma Jignasa. Now, having attained a human birth, one should inquire into Brahman, the absolute truth. In a nutshell, Brahman is then described. Janmajyasya yataha. Brahman is the origin of everything. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhava. I am the origin of everything. So again, the Vedanta Sutra actually describes Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, because Srila Vyasadeva knew that in this Kali Yuga, people would not be able to study Vedanta Sutra nicely on account of a lack of education, he personally wrote a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. That commentary is Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhasham Brahma Sutranam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the real commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, written by the author of the Vedanta Sutra himself. The Vedanta Sutra was written by Vyasadeva, and under his instruction of Narada, his spiritual master, Vyasadeva wrote a commentary on it. That is Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the same aphorism as the Vedanta Sutra, Janmajyasayataha, and continues, Anvayad itrataschatheshva vignaswarat. So actually, the Vedanta Sutra is explained by the author in Srimad Bhagavatam. But the rascal Mayavadis, without understanding Vedanta Sutra and without reading the natural commentary Srimad Bhagavatam, are posing themselves as Vedantis. That means they are misguiding people. And because people are not educated, they are accepting these rascals as Vedantis. Really, the Mayavadi Vedantis, they are bluffers. They are not Vedantis. They do not know anything of the Vedanta Sutra. That is the difficulty. Actually, what is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that is real Vedanta. So if we take Srimad Bhagavatam as the real explanation of Vedanta Sutra, then we will understand Vedanta, the end of knowledge. And if we take shelter of the Mayavadi Vedantis, the bluffers, then we cannot understand Vedanta. People do not know anything, and as a result, they can be bluffed and cheated by anyone. Therefore, now they should learn from this Krishna Consciousness movement what Vedanta is and what the explanation of Vedanta Sutra is. Then they will be benefited. If we accept Srimad Bhagavatam as the real commentary on Vedanta Sutra, then we will find that in the Srimad Bhagavatam it is said, Kalir doshanithe rajan asti eko mahan gunaha. In this Kali Yuga, which is an ocean of faults, there is one benediction, one opportunity. What is that? Kirtanadeva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Rajet. One can become liberated simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. This is real Vedanta. And actually, this liberation by chanting Hare Krishna is happening. But people want to be misguided. And there are so many bluffers to misguide them. What can be done? Vyasadeva has already given the perfect explanation of Vedanta Sutra, the Srimad Bhagavatam. So let people read the Srimad Bhagavatam and then they will understand what Vedanta is. Mr. Krishna. Then are the conclusion of the Vedanta Sutra and the conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam one and the same? Bhakti? Srila Prabhupada, yes. Find this verse. Kamasya nendriya pritir. Mr. Krishna. Kamasya nendriya pritir labho jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jignasha natho yaschyeha karma vihi. Life's desire should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation. Since a human being is meant for inquiry about truth, nothing else should be the goal of one's works. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.10. Srila Prabhupada. Yes, this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam proceeds directly from the Vedanta Sutra. Tathato Brahma Jignasa. Now is the time to inquire about the absolute truth. Here, the very same thing is explained. Don't be entrapped with these temporary bodily necessities of life, sense gratification. You must inquire about the absolute truth. The next verse of Srimad Bhagavatam explains, Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam. Those who know the absolute truth describe him in this way. Tattva means truth. The truth is explained by the tattvavit, one who knows the truth. How? Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti Shavyate. The absolute truth is explained as Brahman, the all-pervading spiritual effulgence, as Paramatma, the localized supersoul, or as Bhagavan, the supreme law. Understanding this is what Vedanta Sutra means when it says Adhato Brahma Jignasa. Now one should learn about the absolute truth, what Brahman is, what Paramatma is, what Bhagavan is. In this way, one should make advancement in his spiritual consciousness. The Mayavadi Vedantists follow the impersonal commentary of Shankaracharya, Sharirika Bhashya. But there are other commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra. Besides the Srimad Bhagavatam, the natural commentary by the author of Vedanta Sutra himself, there are Vedanta Bhashyas written by Vaishnava-Acharyas such as Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Vishnu Swami, and Baladev Vidyabhushana. Unfortunately, the Mayavadi Vedantists do not care to read these Vaishnava Vedanta Bhashyas. They simply read Sharirika Bhashya and call themselves Vedantis. Mr. Krishna. Why do the Mayavadi Vedantists read only one commentary? What is the reason for that? Srila Prabhupada. The reason is that they want to read something that will confirm their illusion that they are God. The Mayavadi Vedantists cheat. Suppose I present some proposition. If it is a misconception, generally there are others also who can say something to clarify this misconception. For instance, in a court of law, there are two lawyers. One lawyer is speaking on one point of the law, the other lawyer is speaking on another point of the law. But if the judge listens to one side only, then how will he make a proper judgment? Similarly, the Vedantists are simply reading the Sharirika Bhashya. They are not reading other Bhashyas, such as the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the natural commentary. And they are cheating people. That's all. Now the Vedanta Sutra says, Janmajyasya yataha. The absolute truth is that from which everything emanates. But this needs some explanation. One may ask, is that absolute truth personal or impersonal? Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna clearly says, Aham sarvasya prabho mattas sarvam pravartate. I am the origin of everything. Everything comes from me. So why don't you Mayavadi Vedantists take it? Why do you simply remain struck at the point that the absolute truth is that from which everything emanates? When Krishna, the absolute truth, comes before you and says, I am the origin of everything, everything comes from me, why don't you accept Krishna as the absolute truth? Why do you take the impersonalist view only, that the absolute truth has no form? Here is the absolute truth speaking, a person. Why don't you take it? Of course, if people want to be cheated, then who can stop them? In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says, Vedanta krut eva chaham. I am the compiler of Vedanta. Why do these rascals do not consider who compiled Vedanta? Vyasadeva is the incarnation of Krishna. He compiled Vedanta. Why do these rascals not consider the original Vedantis, Krishna? They approach a Mayavadi instead. So how will they understand Vedanta? Suppose I have written a book. If you cannot understand something in it, then you should come directly to me for an explanation. That is sensible. Why go to a rascal who has nothing to do with my book? Similarly, some rascal Mayavadi may claim I am a Vedantist. But why should I go to a rascal instead of the real compiler of the Vedanta Sutra? Those who approach the Mayavadi Vedantists for knowledge are also rascals. They are willingly being cheated. Let the Mayavadi Vedantists and their followers accept the conclusions of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Then they will understand Vedanta Sutra. They will be real Vedantists. Otherwise, they will remain cheaters. So if you go to a cheater, you will be cheated, and that is your business. Pusta Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, are you saying that the Mayavadis have no knowledge at all? Srila Prabhupada, once again, Vedanta means the ultimate knowledge. And what is that knowledge? Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita 7.19, Bahunam janmanamante gnanaman mam prapajyate. After many births, one who is actually in knowledge at last surrenders unto me. So unless one surrenders to Krishna, there is no gnana, no knowledge. Therefore, the Mayavadi Vedantis are all nonsense. They have no knowledge at all. The subject matter of ultimate knowledge, Vedanta, is Krishna, God. So if one does not know who God is, who Krishna is, and if one does not surrender to him, then where is the question of knowledge? But if a rascal claims that I am a man of knowledge, what can be done? In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna goes on to explain, Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. When one understands that Vasudeva, Krishna is everything, then that is knowledge. But such a Mahatma is very rare. Before coming to this understanding, one has no knowledge. A so-called understanding is simply misunderstanding. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti savyate. One may begin with understanding impersonal Brahman by the speculative method. Then in the second stage, one can understand the Paramatma, the Lord's localized aspect. And the final stage is to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedya. By all the Vedas, Krishna is to be known. That is the ultimate knowledge. But if you do not understand Krishna, then where is your knowledge? Halfway knowledge is not knowledge. It must be complete knowledge. That complete knowledge is possible, as it is said in the Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam janmanamante, after many births. Those who are striving to acquire knowledge after many, many births, when actually by the grace of God and by the grace of a devotee, they come to knowledge, then such persons agree, oh, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Krishna is everything. Samahatma Sadurlabha, Sudurlabha. That Mahatma, that great soul, is very rarely to be found. Durlabha means very rarely found. But the word used is Sudurlabha, very, very rarely to be found. So, you cannot easily find such a Mahatma who clearly understands Krishna. Chapter 7, Getting Spiritual Guidance. Pushta Krishna. May I ask another question, Srila Prabhupada? Is a guru essential for one to enter the spiritual path and attain the goal? And how does one recognize one's guru? Srila Prabhupada, yes, a guru is necessary. In the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna and Arjuna were talking as friends, there was no conclusion. So Arjuna decided to accept Krishna as his guru. Find this verse in Bhagavad Gita. Karpanya doshopahata svabhava. Sorry. Karpanya doshopahata svabhava. Pruchhami tvam dharma sammudha cheta. Yashreyashyam nischitam bruhi tanme. Shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prakannam. Arjuna said, now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Srila Prabhupada, yes. So a guru is necessary. Like Arjuna, everyone is perplexed about his best course of action. Nobody can decide by himself. Even a physician, when he is sick, he does not devise his own treatment. He calls for another physician because his brain is not in order. How can he prescribe the right medicine for himself? Similarly, when we are perplexed and cannot find any solution, at that time, the guru is required. It is therefore essential for everyone to surrender to a guru. Since in our present existence, we are all perplexed. Arjuna is representing the perplexed position of the materialistic person. So under the circumstances, a guru is required to give us real direction. Now, Arjuna selected Krishna as his guru. He did not go to anyone else because he knew, I can't find any other means to pacify me. You are the only one. The purport is that, like Arjuna, we should also accept Krishna as the guru who can instruct us in how to get relief from our perplexed position. So Krishna is the guru not only for Arjuna, but for everyone. If we take instruction from Krishna and abide by that instruction, then our life is successful. Conveying that fact is our mission. This Krishna consciousness movement teaches, accept Krishna as your guru. Don't divert your attention. We don't say, I am Krishna, follow my order. We never say this. We simply ask people, please abide by the order of Krishna. Krishna says, Sarvadharmam parityajya mam ekam saranam vraja. And we say the same thing. Give up all other ideas of so-called dharma and surrender to Krishna. The same thing. We don't say of ourselves, I am the authority. No, we say Krishna is the authority. And you should surrender to his instruction and try to understand him. This is the Krishna consciousness movement. Now one may say, Krishna is no longer present, so how can I surrender to him? Krishna is no longer present? How can you say that? Krishna's instruction is there, Bhagavad Gita. How can you say that Krishna is not present? Krishna, being absolute, is not different from his words. The words of Krishna and Krishna himself, they are the same. That is the meaning of absolute truth. In relative world, the word water and the substance water are different. When I am thirsty, if I simply chant water, 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 my thirst will not be satisfied. I require the real water. That is the nature of the relative world and relative consciousness. But in the spiritual world or spiritual consciousness, the name is the same as the thing that is named. For instance, if we are chanting Hare Krishna, if Krishna were different from the chanting of Hare Krishna, then how could we be satisfied chanting the whole day and night? This is the proof. An ordinary name, if you chant Mr. John, after chanting 3 times, you will cease. But this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, if you go on chanting 24 hours a day, you will never become tired. This is the spiritual nature of the absolute truth. This is practical. Anyone can perceive it. So Krishna is present through his words and through his representative. Therefore, we advise everyone to accept Krishna's instruction in Bhagavad Gita and to surrender to his bona fide representative. You have to accept a guru. So why go to a pseudo guru who will mislead you? Why not take instructions from a real guru? Now you are in doubt about whether a guru is needed. Yes, a guru is needed. But you have to go to a real guru. That is the instruction given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Just find this. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te tadjnanam jnaninastattvadarshinaha. Mr. Krishna, just try to learn the truth by accepting a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Bhagavad Gita 4.34. Srila Prabhupada. So this is the real Guru, one who has seen the truth. Just as Arjuna has seen Krishna. Arjuna heard Krishna's instruction and said, "You are the absolute truth." Now, if you take the instruction of Arjuna, then you will understand the absolute truth. So what is the instruction of Arjuna? Find out in the 10th chapter. Mr. Krishna. Arjuna uvacha param brahma param dhama pavitram paramam bhavan purusham shashvatam divyam adidevam ajam vibhum. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest." Bhagavad Gita 10.12. Srila Prabhupada. And the Vedanta Sutra says, Athato Brahma Jignasa. Now in the human form of life, is the time to inquire into what is the Supreme Brahman. So here in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna has realized, "Oh Krishna, you are the Supreme Brahman. So you should make Arjuna your Guru and Krishna your Guru." Arjuna is the representative of Krishna, the friend of Krishna. The Guru is essential. But why go to a bogus Guru? You will be cheated. For instance, when you are diseased, for your treatment, you need to go to a physician. But you want to go to a real physician, not a cheater who has no knowledge of medical science and misrepresents himself. I am a physician and MD. Then you will be cheated. The Guru is necessary. That's a fact. But go to the real Guru. Who is the real Guru? The real Guru is Krishna, or one who has seen Krishna, such as Arjuna.